I'm Scott Al Miller. It's the 18th of April, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life living in León, Nicaragua. Today we're going to be talking about the camera equipment that I used to make this show, because the question came up, so we're going to get to that right after the bump.
I just want to have fun, clap my hands, turn around now and dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, clap, turn around, dance, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, clap, turn around, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, clap, turn around, dance, dance. I just wanna clap, clap, turn around, dance, dance. I just wanna have fun, turn around now. I just wanna have fun.
All right, today is Tuesday, not a lot to report from work, so we're just gonna get right into today's topic. I live in Nicaragua and I am a full-time YouTuber. I make, as you guys know, an awful lot of content. That means I gotta have good cameras, multiple cameras, and I need to be able to turn things out relatively quickly and with good workflow. So one of my viewers asked, and I'm glad she did, because this is a thing that's of a lot of interest to me. So I'm really excited to get to tell you about the equipment that I use to make the show. I hope you guys find it interesting, and I hope it's exciting that coming up pretty soon, there's going to be, in about 10 days, a new camera being added, which I have hinted to, and I'm not telling you guys what it is. Once it arrives, I'm gonna do some videos and see if you guys are able to guess what it is, and you can start guessing now, but of course, wait until we actually start shooting with it. Hopefully we're gonna get some amazing new footage and do some fun stuff with that. Plus, I just need lots of new batteries, lots of new cameras, because of the way that my workflows work. I don't have enough cameras to do all the things that I wanna do, but I hope today we're shooting on 2 GoPros, which I don't do very often because that creates a lot of footage that I have to work with, but it's also a lot of fun. So the first main question is, what camera do I use and why? Well, it varies. I have a number of cameras that I actually use to do the show. For the majority of the time that we've been here, 2021, 2022, my only real camera that I did almost all of the show on, besides my cell phone, is the GoPro 9, which I have off to my side here, hopefully getting a little bit of footage here. This is my workhorse camera. It is absolutely fantastic. I've loved the GoPro 9. It was, for me, the real leap forward in GoPros. I had a 4 and a 5 previously, the 5 with the Karma gimbal. Both were amazing cameras, and I fell in love with the whole GoPro system because of them, but the need for the big gimbal and all the limitations that came with them, of course they were much older cameras, 9, 8 years old at this point, they had a lot that left me just not finding them to be something I could use every day. When I got my GoPro 9, which is the first one I got since the 5, the leap forward was amazing. And there's 2 really key things that make the 9 super important. One is that it has full image stabilization, which I'm not using right now, but when I'm walking around in the street or I'm doing shows like Drive Warp and I'm filming from a car, that's what keeps the horizon perfectly level, even though things are bouncing around, and it makes for some really beautiful footage I couldn't really realistically do in some other way. I could maybe, but it would be very difficult. The GoPro 9, and really started with the 7, but the 9 really honed it in and dialed in an amazing result. Looks fantastic, so I love using it for that. The 9 also has the option of the media kit, which I'm using on this one and not on that one. That one is purely taking an image. This one has the full media kit. The media kit attaches to the top of the camera here. It makes it a bit bulkier, but it gives me an onboard shotgun microphone that I can control forward or backwards. So no matter where I'm standing, I can tell it where I am or tell it to record both. It also gives me a spot to attach my lavalier mic, which is what I'm speaking on. It's right here, and this is how you get without all the sound of the wind. So I get even better sound most of the time because I've got a Rode lavalier mic, which is fantastic. I highly recommend the lavalier 2 from Rode. It's like $70 and one of the easiest ways to get really good audio when you're doing outdoor vlogging like I do. And so because of the media kit and the stabilization of the GoPro 9, it really made it easy for me to do a lot of recording. And sorry for the amazing sound of the birds in the background. We had a baby bird get lost today, and we had to find its home, and its family is being very boisterous. So I also do a lot of filming with my cell phone. I have an iPhone 13. It does HDR 4K video, and it really does look fantastic, and its audio isn't bad, and it does a really good job of picking up stereo, whereas the GoPro, like I'm on a lavalier, so this is mono, which makes it easier to understand my voice, but gives you less of that ambiance. But I generally don't film with the iPhone when I'm doing regular videos because I don't have that lavalier mic, because it doesn't have quite the quality that the GoPro does. The GoPro has bigger sensors, more processing power, better software for that, but it doesn't have the HDR. Sometimes I want that. My vertical videos are very often filmed on the iPhone. So if you're watching those and say, what's the difference in look most of the time? Almost all of my vertical videos, my shorts, are shot with the iPhone 13, and nearly all of my full-blown episodes are shot on either the GoPro 9 or the GoPro 11, or today on both. I upgraded to the GoPro 11 as my main camera in December when I went back to the United States. They normally come out every September. I had a little bit of time to make sure it was going to have the features that were going to make sense for me. And my GoPro 9 has been getting pretty finicky as it gets older and wears out. I really do. I use my GoPros more than almost anybody, many hours every day under extreme heat conditions. So things are going to wear out, and you just have to expect that. I eat through batteries really fast. I've worn out the media kit on here. I don't think you can see it from the other video, but the door is broken, so I have a new media kit coming in a week as well. I've gone through like 4 out of 7 batteries, something like that I've had since we've been here. I've got like 4 to 6 more batteries coming, plus more batteries, like 3 more for the new camera as well. So adding lots of batteries to the lineup. Hopefully that's going to help things as well. So this is my everyday workflow. So the next question is, why? What makes us choose this, and how do I do it? I have 2 main shooting modes when I'm working with the GoPro, and it doesn't matter if it's the 9 or the 11. Most of the time, well, it's probably half and half. If you see me out and walking, what I'm doing is I have a selfie stick with the GoPro at the end, and I have it set to normally to horizon lock, so you get that nice, stable, absolutely rock solid video of me walking. This makes it really easy for me to turn the camera around and show you where I am. Makes it easy for me to hold it and film myself, and I don't have to pay super close attention to it because the GoPro is going to level that out and make smooth footage for you. I love how that looks, and that's pretty much unique to the GoPro or a few other action style cameras that have that built-in stabilization. Of course, I can get into Final Cut Pro and do stabilization there, but if I do that, I've got to record above 4K or it's going to shrink me down past 4K. And honestly, I don't find its stabilization to be as good as the GoPro's native. There are ways to do GoPro after the fact. Like I can record it in high definition, like 5.3K on the GoPro, take their third party, well, not their third party, but their external software, and then balance it from that. But I've already got a GoPro, I can do it inside the camera, so I might as well just do that. It saves me the cost of getting that software and makes my workflow a lot better. It's very rare that I don't know what I want at the time that I record the video, so I'm able to do that with the GoPro without a problem. So that's what I'm doing when I'm out and walking around. When I'm not walking around, what I choose to do is I take the selfie stick that I have and turn it into a tripod like we have now. I change my lens from the horizon lock to standard wide, which uses more of the sensor and gives you a slightly wider view. I'm able to step back, and that's how you get the images that look like this. And let me explain why I do one for one and one for the other. When I'm walking around, the thing that matters to me most is the horizon lock and the overall leveling effect. That's what I want, is that smooth image, because if I don't, you get this jittery, shaky image. Now, it's super wide, so it would be bearable, and once in a while, I do it without the lock, and you guys generally don't complain. But there's something really nice about that super smooth footage. It makes the vlog very comfortable to watch when I'm out and walking around. So I opt for that when that's what I'm doing. When I'm not doing that, I want to have the extra image quality that I get from using a larger portion of the sensor. A higher amount of data is being recorded, and it's able to deal with the dynamic range, and it's able to deal with differences in bright and dark and just all kinds of things better. And I get a sharper image because I'm actually collecting more data in the camera, and it doesn't have to process it as much to level it out. So the camera actually does less work while getting a better image, and it just looks quite a bit better in my opinion. Every time that I film like this and I go to edit it, I always say, wow, this looks so much better. I love how much it is improved simply by recording in this different way. So I've noticed that, and I'm putting more and more effort into trying to do that whenever possible. The other reason that I like this a lot, when I'm holding the camera in my hand, it generally puts the camera pretty close to me, about this far away. And the GoPro does not have autofocus. It is an infinite focus, small aperture camera. That makes it really easy to know exactly what I'm gonna get. I don't have to worry about focus breathing. I don't have to worry about focus on the wrong thing, but it means I don't have focus options at all, which is very limiting. So things that are close up are always going to be blurry and the background's always going to be crystal clear. That's not necessarily bad for the type of vlog I do. You often want what's back there to be in view. So I like that because it shows the country around me and I'm just a small piece of it. But when I'm walking around, pay close attention, or please don't, but I'm generally just slightly out of focus. It's not a big deal and I'm not necessarily what you're looking at, and I'm pretty close to focus, so it's not terrible. If I really need to improve it, my selfie stick does extend, and with that, it's much harder to hold, much harder to control, and I can't really see the screen, but it does bring me back into focus and makes it a little bit more like this. But then I need the stabilization even more because I'm at arm's length and it's flopping around. So it's much more difficult to actually film. But when I'm on the tripod, I'm able to step back a bit enough that I'm probably twice as far from the camera as I normally am, and I'm able to put it on a different lens. So it changes both how it's gathering the data, as I said, and I'm within the focus zone, so suddenly I'm perfectly crisp as well, and that's another reason why this image looks better. So I try to do this when I can, and instead just move the tripod around and give you different static views. I think it's when I'm not actively walking and showing you things, I think this is vastly superior. I'd love to hear from you guys what you think about different shots that I do and different setups, because sometimes you could be like, this looks great, I like this, or this is too wobbly, or this is weird, or just whatever. I want to know what you guys like. That would mean a lot. But that's my main setups with the GoPro. One of the things that anyone who uses action cams like GoPro will tell you is one of the things that's really important about them, the thing that you really want to consider, because most people think about what camera do I want to buy, and that's what they focus on. For the most part, that doesn't matter too much. I could do a really great job with the GoPro 7 or later. That's a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's a lot of cameras. All of them are fine. They're going to look fantastic. And really, if you had a GoPro 5 and we're doing this and set it up right, it would look fantastic too. You just have to get your audio somewhere else. So that's not a big deal. And like, I'm trying to keep this easy because I vlog every day, as you guys know, and I actually average 2 to 3 vlogs per day, just not all on this channel. And so really, I've got to keep it super simple. So I have a lavalier directly into the GoPro. I don't have to do that. I have Rode wireless systems. I have a Tascam recorder. I could use any of those not attached to the GoPro and sync up the audio later, thanks to Final Cut Pro. Still wouldn't be too hard, and once in a while I do that. That technically often gives me improved audio, but only slightly improved audio. But it's extra steps that I have to do. I have to maintain the audio files separately from the video files. I have to sync them up. I have to store them, back them up. It's an ordeal, and when you're doing as many shows as I am, it's a problem. And if either device has a problem, I don't get the shot and I have to start over. So for simplicity and performance and speed, I often record this way because I've got to keep it simple. So I've come up with the system that makes sense. So the media kit and being able to record directly to the camera, either with the shotgun mic or with the lavalier, really makes a big difference. That's the first piece of things that are really important. Also is my selfie stick. I spent a long time using different selfie sticks. I have the powered one from GoPro, which is very expensive. It's very heavy, but it does carry a lot of power with it. So you plug it in, it's like having several batteries with you. That's great, but I found I pretty much never use that. And the camera is so finicky with the way it takes power. Often it didn't work anyway. So that was not as useful as you would hope. Kind of sorry that I have that. I have some really light, small selfie sticks. They're great for when I'm doing a lot of walking around, or if I'm going to be on water and it floats. So just in case I drop the camera, it won't disappear. That's nice, but I found that that's not really what I like the most. From Casey at Camera Conspiracies, he talked about the Ulanzi extra long extending selfie stick for GoPro. That's what I went and got, and trust me, it is amazing, worth every dime. It is fantastic. It turns into this tall tripod so I can set up the camera, but it also folds down into a selfie stick that I can carry, and it varies everything in between, so I can have pretty much as far away as I want, and I can put the camera somewhere and then go do things. It's a full tripod. It's not one of those little tiny ones. So the ability for me to do different kinds of shots using a single device is a really big deal. It also has a magnetically powered locking quick release. So I haven't really played with that much, but I have the ability to do quick release using a specialty Ulanzi quick release for the GoPro and action cams with that. That's really nice as well. I do upgrade to third-party metal GoPro screws. That makes it just quicker and easier to work with the GoPros. And there's a few few other things that I typically use. I have a mount that I can bite and hold the camera and do things with my hands. I have a magnetic mount so I can put it on that and just slap it to something with a clip as well, which is what I use for the GoPro 9 to film the 11 in this episode. It's just really handy because you can quickly do things. A few little things like that go a long way to making the GoPro really powerful as a tool to just however you're going to go. If I'm wearing a backpack, I've got a backpack clip and I can just mount it there and walk with it and get footage that way. All those different things really make a difference. So those things make the GoPro really, really versatile and powerful. The GoPro also has a workflow where all I have to do is plug it into power and it automatically starts uploading the videos to Wi-Fi and sends them out to the GoPro cloud to back them up. And with the 11, it automatically clears off the camera as well. So every day I film during the day. As soon as the sun starts going down, I plug it in and it starts uploading itself and takes care of cleaning off the camera and getting all those files ready for me. Then in the evening when I'm ready to edit, I can just sit down, go to the GoPro cloud and download whatever videos I need for the day, double check that they're all there. And I know that my camera is charged, its SD card is empty, and all of my files have been backed up to the cloud and I have them accessible for me to start using for editing. That workflow is really important for me. The GoPro 11 is absolutely fantastic about that, so I love it for that reason specifically. When it comes to vlogging, it may seem counterintuitive to do so using an action cam like the GoPro, for example, but there's lots of other action cams you could choose as well. I like the GoPro for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's the original action cam and I've been using them for a long time. And I really like the ecosystem that it provides. I have the GoPro Cloud and subscription service, which gives me lower cost on the GoPros themselves, on the accessories, and I have some protection. So should I have one break from overuse, which trust me, I use them heavily, so I'm always pushing for it to have that happen. When I'm in the States, I simply mail them back to GoPro. I do something, I'm not sure if it's $50 or $100, but I pay like this repair fee and they send me a new one to replace the one that died. That's a pretty nice deal. It really is designed to make it that you're comfortable just wearing out your camera. So whether it's worn or I'm doing some action thing and I abuse it and it gets broken, whatever, you can't lose it. I have had it stolen. They do not replace it when it gets stolen, but if you abuse it and damage it or it just wears out, they will replace it at a very reasonable cost, and I get lower cost on all the things with the initial purchases, and that GoPro Cloud alone is worth the money. So that's a really big deal for me that I don't potentially get from other action cam vendors. So that's a reason that I use the GoPro, but I really just in general, GoPro is generally considered to have the best or equal to the best of the image quality of any of the action cam vendors. The main action cam vendors being GoPro, Insta360, and DJI. All of them make amazing cameras. All of them would work absolutely fine. And a lot of it comes down to which one has the colors that you like, the style that you like, a specific feature that you like. If you want wider lenses, Insta360 is better at that. If you want more rugged, you want cheaper, whatever, there's different ones from different vendors. GoPro is building an ecosystem, as the others do as well. Insta360 has the option of 1-inch sensors. I don't get that with GoPro. I would love that, but it's more expensive, and that's not something I'm looking to do. But if GoPro was to bring out a 1-inch sensor in the future, I would probably make the leap. So we will see what new things come out. GoPro has talked about a lot of new models coming, and only a few of them have come out so far in the 11 generation. So maybe they'll come out with something really interesting with a bigger sensor this year, but my personal guess is that they won't. They make their own sensors and their own processors. Making extra ones, it does not make a lot of sense for them, whereas someone else who's buying third-party ones and assembling them, having many different versions may make sense there because they don't have to worry about that same volume consideration. But overall, I think the GoPro quality is just really, really excellent. Now, why an action cam, though? In general, of that category, yes, GoPro, all of them make sense. GoPro happens to be what I really like because of a lot of those features and because I've used it for a long time. But why action cams in general? Because they are really quick, easy, small, resilient, and cheap. All those things are super important when you're vlogging like I do. I need something that I can carry a lot. If I was to use a big camera on a regular basis, you would notice that I would get worn out very quickly. It'd be very hard for me to hold it. It wouldn't be ready when I needed it. It would also overheat more quickly because I wouldn't have anywhere to put it. It would always be out in the sun, whereas the GoPro, I'm able to hide it in the shadows a lot of the time when I'm not filming. That makes a big difference for cooling it down. The action cameras also, because of the fixed focus, I know that sounds like a huge negative, and in many cases it is, of course, but because of that fixed focus, I'm able to do a lot of things without thinking. As a vlogger, I don't necessarily have time to sit around going, well, I'm going to focus on this and do this. I'm not doing cinema here. It's just me. I'm often just out and I need to capture things as they happen. And sometimes I'm not even looking at the camera. It's got to get something over my shoulder. It needs to be in focus. So in bright light, which I have an abundance of here in Nicaragua, having an action cam is perfect because the image quality in bright light is fantastic and its image quality of the background is fantastic. Those are the things I'm prioritizing. And so the action cam really shines for that. If I wanted to do a close-up of my face, and you've seen episodes where I do that, then often you want to have that background separation and blur out the background because it's boring or you just don't want you to be distracted by it or whatever, then having a completely different type of camera makes a lot of sense. So it depends what you're doing. If I was filming indoors, the GoPro would not be a good choice at all. It's very poor in that low light. The action cameras are also really resilient and small. It's easy for me to throw them in a bag, put them in a pocket, just carry them, let them bounce around. I can't do that with a big mirrorless camera with a giant lens. I have to carefully put it in a backpack, protect it, worry about it being stolen if I'm out walking, because sometimes you guys know I walk the barrios, I walk rough neighborhoods, and in doing that with a GoPro, I'm really not concerned. I'm never concerned for my safety, but as people said, it is possible that someone will reach up and just grab your camera and run for it. There's a lot of potential money involved. A GoPro, it's very hard to tell if it's worth $50 or $500, so grabbing it and running is not too likely. Plus, it's very easy for me to keep it away from someone, and in many cases, it's just less noticeable. People don't tend to notice you're carrying a GoPro, and when you have a GoPro, you look like everyone else. It's not something special. You don't stand out. You're not drawing attention to yourself, and overall, it's pretty discreet. It's not the most discreet. I could actually get GoPros. There's two sizes smaller than this one. This is the largest, but I want that extra screen so I can see it from the front. That's another reason that I picked the GoPro, because it has a really good front-facing screen, so I can see myself when I'm filming. I could go, there's two smaller models, but they don't have that front-facing screen, so I'd be like, I think I'm looking at you guys. I'm not sure what you're seeing. Yeah, right. It would be much harder, even though it would be lighter for me to carry around, and it might dissipate more heat. It's potentially more problematic. So I stick to this particular full-size model because I need that front-facing view. But in general, the action cams for vloggers work fantastic. And if you watch Camera Conspiracies with Casey, he talks about how in most cases, the GoPro 11 is the ultimate vlogging camera because you don't have to spend your time thinking about the camera. You go out, you choose the right camera, you do a one-time setup. I want this, I want the 4K or the 5.3K, and I want 30 or 24 frames per second, and I want the wide lens, I want the horizon lock, whatever. You pick it, do a couple presets, you just turn it on and go. That's it, you're done. If you want to vlog, you don't want to be thinking about your camera a lot. Now, if I'm a filmmaker, of course, I want to think about my camera settings all the time. But as a vlogger, I really don't. I need simplicity, I need speed, I need safety, and I need it to be affordable because I go through these cameras really quickly. Even if people aren't stealing them, I wear them out. There's a lot of abuse going on with these cameras, and so that's important as well. These cameras are only like $300 or $400 per year to have the latest ones and keep them up to date. If I was doing the same thing with, say, a Sony vlogging camera, I'd be looking much closer to $2,000 for each generation. Maybe I wouldn't need as many, but it's a much bigger investment, and that's a lot more to potentially have stolen or lost or break or drop or whatever. Also, by using a smaller camera, I'm able to use a much smaller selfie stick or a much lighter one. If I'm working with my good camera, I'm going to be using my big, heavy metal tripod. And it gets amazing shots. Every time I use it, you guys say, wow, I love how beautiful this is. What are you doing? That's my Olympus EM1 Mark II, and you notice how good it looks. But I'm carrying a giant camera around. I have to carry a lot of equipment for it, and I have to have a big tripod. With the GoPros, I have this tiny little tripod that folds up into a selfie stick, and I'm able to just grab it and go and decide what I'm going to film and how I'm going to film after I get there. So I really like the GoPro and action cams for that reason. When I'm out trying to get really fancy footage for you guys, it is the Olympus EM1 Mark II that I use. That is this bad boy. I love this camera, and you guys consistently remark on just how good it looks. It is beautiful. I have really great lenses for this, a large selection of them. The color science off of this is the best in the business. It is really something. I love getting to use it, but you see how big this is, and it is built like a brick. It is so heavy. I have to have a heavy tripod for this. I have to do a lot more setup. I cannot simply connect it to the internet and have it upload everything. I've got to take the cards out and transfer them. It is a lot more work. It also doesn't do good internal audio recording, so you never hear me use the internal on this. It's always an external mic that then is synced up, which is fine, and you get even better audio with it, making the whole experience even better than this in that way as well. But it's so much more work. So when you see episodes when I'm recording that have that blurred background and really look fantastic, I'm putting in a lot of extra work to do that, and this is the camera that's doing that. So these are the cameras that I'm using for basically all of my shots. The 2 GoPros, once in a while this, and once in a great while at this point, my iPhone. Now with that I have the 2 GoPros, I almost always am using one of those. I do have a couple other cameras that I can use. Until just recently, I had the Panasonic Lumix, which I really never used for this channel. It's a little bit more like this, but not quite, definitely not as good. That has just been given away. You can see my Camera Cafe channel if you want to see more about that. But I do have another Olympus that's smaller that I can also use. It looks very similar to this, so you get some amazing shots from that as well, but I don't use that one too often because I have this one, so that's what I use. So those are the cameras that I use, and that is the equipment I use most days. Once in a while, I do have like suction cup mounts that I'll put into a car, or I have a specialty thing here and there that I do. I've got multiple tripods for these, but that's pretty much what I work with. Getting more cameras, something I would love to do. There's a lot of different equipment that I think I could improve the show with, and I would love to get more big cameras like this, more action style cameras like this, and just get a bigger variety of footage, both to make it more fun for me to record and make it more interesting for you guys to watch, and provide different views of the world. When I'm using this, for example, I'm able to get completely different footage than I'm able to get with the GoPro. So it depends what I want to do and what I have time for. Most days I am in an absolute panic to try to get the show out for you guys, and so I'm running around, and if I didn't use the GoPro, I would never be able to get it done. If I had to take this and go for a walk, yeah, I could physically do it. It would take so much extra effort, cause so many problems, I couldn't realistically do it. So the GoPro, 9 out of 10 times at least, it is what makes sense for me. It makes the show easy to do and still look beautiful. It makes my workflow make sense, and it keeps it relatively affordable. But all of this equipment is exactly why, if you want to support the show, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. That's like Patreon. It comes directly to me, and it helps make all of this possible and more coming up soon. And thank you so much. As I've recorded this episode, a bunch of people have gone on and donated through Buy Me a Coffee, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me how much you guys not just watch and comment and everything else, but really get involved and help support the show. If you'd like to ask more questions, you want to learn more about the camera gear I have, make suggestions, learn more about it, or let me know what I should be using, or if you want to send me some cameras, let me know. Get in the comments down below, and let's talk about it. And if you just want to say hi, I love all the conversation. We have such a great, friendly community here, and getting to do topics like, do you guys enjoy topics like this? And I do have another channel, Camera Cafe, where I just talk about cameras, not about vlogging per se, but just the very general sense of cameras, because I am a professional photographer from the old days. I enjoy photography and videography. I enjoy the equipment, and I have a bit of it, and I've been doing this since I was very young, so that's something I enjoy, but I don't want to make this channel like overwhelmed with that content most of the time, so I have an entire channel dedicated to that, and if you want to check that out, I would really appreciate that as well. All of the subscribing and watching across the different channels all helps make everything possible together. As always, like and subscribe, share with your friends, put it on social media, tell people about the show, and I will see all of you tomorrow.